The night was ink black, swallowing the world outside my car windows. The only source of illumination came from my headlights, casting long shadows that danced along the edges of the road. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles white against the leather. The radio crackled faintly with static, the occasional garbled words breaking through the silence. It was just another late-night drive, or so I thought. I had taken this route 100 times before, a winding stretch of highway that cut through dense woods. The trees stood like sentinels, their branches clawing at the sky, while the underbrush seemed to hold secrets in its depths. The road was deserted, a ribbon of asphalt that disappeared into the distance. I glanced at the clock on the dashboard, 2:37 a.m. I had been driving for hours, my eyelids heavy with fatigue. That's when the first flicker of unease snaked its way into my mind. A rustling in the undergrowth caught my attention, and I glanced to my left, my heart skipping a beat. Two glowing eyes stared back at me, a pair of fiery orbs that seemed to float in the darkness. I slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching as the car skidded to a halt. My breath caught in my throat as the creature emerged from the shadows. It was unlike anything I had ever seen, a twisted fusion of man and beast. Its elongated limbs moved with an uncanny grace, and its skin glistened as if coated in a slick, oily substance. But the eyes, those burning eyes, held a malevolence that sent shivers down my spine. I fumbled for my phone, my trembling fingers struggling to dial 911. But as soon as I looked up, the creature was gone. My heart raced as I scanned the darkness, the woods now eerily silent. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes were peering at me from every angle. With a shaky breath, I put the car back into gear and hit the gas, desperate to put distance between myself and whatever that thing was. Miles passed in a blur, the road stretching endlessly before me. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled over me like a suffocating blanket. The radio continued to emit nothing but static, and my phone's GPS showed no signs of civilization nearby. I was alone, trapped in a nightmare of my own making. As the minutes turned to hours, fatigue gnawed at the edges of my consciousness. My eyes burned, and the road seemed to waver before me. I knew I had to find a place to rest, to escape this claustrophobic darkness for a few moments. Up ahead, a dilapidated motel appeared like a mirage. Its neon sign flickered weakly, casting an eerie glow that bathed the parking lot in an otherworldly light. I parked the car and stumbled out, my legs wobbly from hours of driving. The motel's facade was peeling, and the windows were cracked, but it was shelter from the void outside. I pushed open the door, a gust of cold air washing over me. The lobby was empty, the reception desk covered in a layer of dust. A bell sat on the counter, and I gave it a tentative ring, the sound echoing through the silence. "Hello?" I called out, my voice quivering. A creaking noise drew my attention to a hallway at the back of the lobby. A figure emerged, hunched and shambling. My heart pounded in my chest as I watched the old man approach, his eyes glazed over and milky white. He opened his mouth, emitting a guttural sound that sent terror coursing through my veins. I stumbled back, my instincts screaming at me to flee. I turned and sprinted for the door, the world around me blurring into a chaotic frenzy. The night seemed to close in, the darkness pressing against me from all sides. I reached my car and slammed the door shut, the engine roaring to life as I peeled out of the parking lot. The road stretched ahead, a never-ending abyss of uncertainty. I stole a glance in the rearview mirror, my heart freezing as I caught a glimpse of those fiery eyes staring back at me from the shadows. The creature was following, its twisted form moving effortlessly through the night. Fear gripped me, a primal instinct to survive propelling me forward. My foot pressed harder on the gas pedal, the speedometer needle climbing higher and higher. But no matter how fast I drove, the creature stayed just behind me, its gaze never leaving my rearview mirror. Hours turned into an eternity as I drove, the boundaries of reality blurring. The world outside became a distorted nightmare, and I found myself questioning my own sanity. The road seemed to twist and contort, leading me deeper into a realm of darkness and despair. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the nightmarish drive ended. I found myself parked on the side of a familiar road, the first rays of dawn breaking through the horizon. The creature was nowhere in sight, and the weight of the ordeal settled over me like a heavy shroud. As I stepped out of the car, the events of the night felt like a fever dream, a macabre tale spun by a mind on the brink of collapse. But the memory of those burning eyes, that twisted form, lingered like a scar. I knew I would never forget the terror of that night drive, a journey that had taken me to the very edge of reality and back.